What's up guys, my name is Gabe and welcome back to the Trojan Blade. Welcome back to a brand new video. It is officially game week. The longest off season ever is finally over and we are ready for some Trojan football. It is of course that time of year where I give you my projected 2 deep for both the offense and defense. A lot of close position battles here, but after doing some digging, I am confident that I've got it very close to what we're going to see on Sunday. But before we get into it though guys, I do want to tell you about today's video sponsor, SeatGeek. SeatGeek is a ticketing service that takes tickets from all over the web and puts them into one very easy to find place. It is truly your one-stop shop for football tickets, basketball, baseball, hockey, you name it, you'll find it on SeatGeek. They even grade every single listing on a scale from 1 to 10 so you know if you're getting a fair deal or not. And now SeatGeek is hooking my subscribers up with $20 off your first order when you use my promo code TrojanBlade at checkout. Thank you so much SeatGeek, now back to the video. Alright, so taking a look at the 2 deep here. Now I think the official depth chart is going to come out on Thursday night. I believe I have that right. If I don't, please do let me know down below in the comments. But as of Monday, August 26th, this is what I believe it'll be. So on the offensive side of the ball, I kind of got excited and did more than 2 for a few spots here. Starting with the quarterbacks, we obviously know Miller Moss, Jaden Maiava. Interesting quarterback room. Jaden Maiava is actually the more experienced player, being the backup. Not a lot of teams throughout the country have a guy as their backup who started an entire year. And just because Jaden is the backup, I don't think that means we're not going to see him. I do think he's going to play. We saw it in the Holiday Bowl against Louisville when Lincoln brought in Jake Jensen for that 4th down just to bring a different change of pace. Jaden can run for you, he can throw for you, he can be a battering ram if that's what you need him to be. So yeah, I really like our quarterback room. Now moving to the running backs, I do think this is going to be a more committee approach than we've seen in previous years. So 1 through 4, you have Woody Marks, Quentin Joyner, Brian Jackson, and Amarian Peterson. Now Woody Marks is going to be the starting back for this team. He's going to be your 3rd down back as well. You can trust him in pass pro. He has great hands. He's a great route runner. Veteran guy, very secure with the ball, a ton of experience playing in big games just like this against these LSU Tigers. And then you look at some of the young guys, Quentin Joyner, Brian Jackson. Now, Brian Jackson is a guy that had a phenomenal fall camp. Really think he's pushing for some serious playing time, probably down near the goal line. But then you have a guy like Quentin Joyner that has a ceiling as high as anybody on this team at any position. Great size, home run hitting athleticism, great speed. He's just got to work on that vision. He's just got to work on being more decisive. But yeah, I do see Woody Marks leading this group in both receptions and carries. Now moving over to the wideouts, and this is very interesting as always for Lincoln Riley because he rotates a ton of guys at the wideout spot. It's really hard to say who the quote-unquote starters are for this team. Some weeks Kyron Hudson will come out there first. Some weeks Deuce Robinson will be out there first. I don't have Zachariah Branch listed as a starter, but he's going to play like he's a starter. Now, if I had to put money on it and we had 3 wideouts coming out for that first series against LSU, I do have Jacoby, Deuce, and Lemon being those first 3 out there. But again, Zachariah is going to play a ton. Jay Thayer is going to play a ton. I'm expecting a lot from Jaden Richardson, from Xavier Jordan. Kyron Hudson is a guy that has all the trust in the world by the coaching staff. Kyle Ford is back. We know what kind of a physical threat he can be, especially down in the red zone. A ton of options here. A lot of guys are going to play. A lot of guys are going to catch a lot of balls. But yeah, that is how I have it stacking up. Tight ends, again, only a 2 deep, but I got a little excited. I kind of wrote everybody on there. So Late McCree is going to be your tight end 1. But I don't think that's going to be as solid as it has been in previous years. A guy like Cade Eldridge had a phenomenal fall camp, really coming along as a blocker, getting a lot of trust from the coaching staff. We know about his ability as a runner with the football, as he played running back in high school up there in Washington. But then you have true freshman Joey Olson, who was running with the ones in spring ball and also had a phenomenal fall camp and has worked his way up to number 3 on the depth chart in my opinion. Big time receiving threat, great size, truly as natural a pass catcher as I've ever seen from a true freshman tight end. Tabarachi was obviously up there last year, but I do think with injuries and just the younger guys stepping up, he has fallen down a little bit. And then you have the 2 summer enrollees, Walker Lyons and Walter Matthews. Now I have them at the bottom now. That could easily change come week 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on. Joey was the early enrollee, that's why he has a leg up on those guys. When they finally catch up and get up to speed, they could climb up the depth chart and start contributing on the field. Alright, now taking a look at the Trojan offensive line, pretty cut and dry here. From left to right, you have Elijah Page, Emmanuel Pregnon, Jonah Monheim, Alani Noah, and Mason Murphy. Now from left tackle to center, I love it. Huge fan of Elijah Page. You know where I stand on that. I think he's going to be an All-American. I think he's going to be a first-round pick. And I think that this is the year he really becomes a household name. Could finish with some national honors this year. Very excited for him. Emmanuel Pregnon is a physical freak that actually made Bruce Feldman's freak list. But aside from that, he's just a player that had a very strong end to the 2023 season. Started out pretty rough for him, but as he got more and more reps in this Lincoln Riley offense, things started to click for him. He's an absolute menace when he's pulling. And of course, as a guard in this Lincoln Riley offense, he does that a hell of a lot. There's nothing about Jonah Monheim that I can tell you that you don't already know. The guy's a stud, Mr. Consistency, the best center in the country, one of the best offensive linemen in the country. Now, this right side of the line is where it starts to get a little sketchy. Alani Noah, while very physical in the run game, was absolutely lost last year at times as a pass blocker. Need to see a massive step from him before I'm fully confident in it. And then Mason Murphy is a guy that the coaches have been praising this year, but throughout his career so far at USC, there's been mental gaffe after mental gaffe. So very worrying right side of the line, just talking about the guard and tackle, not Jonah. And then when you look at the depth behind him, it kind of makes it even more concerning. You have Tobias Raymond backing up Mason Murphy at the right tackle spot. Now, Tobias is a very talented kid, love his technique, love his mindset, but the dude hasn't played a down of college football. The thought of a guy having to come in and play against an LSU or a Michigan or a Penn State for his first collegiate snaps is not ideal. And when you look at right guard, all of the backup options are kind of the same. They're all young and inexperienced, but they're very physical. But again, Amos Talele, Gino Quinones, any of the guys you're talking about, they don't really have that experience. Now, Gino has played. I haven't been a big fan of what he's put on display. He's more than likely going to be your second string left guard behind Pregnon. But looking at center, Killian O'Connor is a player that I actually have very high hopes for. Really like what we've seen from him in his limited appearances. Again, that center spot is so unique, so important. Having a guy that can come in and fill in if he needs to is vital for a football team. And then left tackle, this one's very interesting. There have been rumblings throughout the offseason that Micah Benuelos is actually working left tackle, which at first I thought there was no chance that was true. Just looking at him physically, he's not a left tackle. He doesn't have the height, he doesn't have the wingspan. You don't think he has the athleticism to play out there in space? But man, I trust Coach Henson. If Micah is our number 2 left tackle, then he's obviously earned it. So excited for him, comes from a great family. Would be very interested to see how that goes if he has to play some left tackle for us. Now moving to the defensive side of the ball, you guys know I'm a former offensive lineman, so definitely didn't get overexcited and list a bunch of guys like I did for the offense. Again, we are going to be talking about this in the sense of Danton Lynn's 2-4-5 base. So your 2 interior guys with their hands in the dirt are going to be Gavin Meyer and Barry Alexander. Your 2 stand-up ends are going to be Anthony Lucas and Jamil Muhammad. Easton Mascarenas Arnold is going to be running the mic and wearing the green dot for us. Mason Cobb is going to be that heat-seeking missile playing Will. Your 2 safeties are going to be Kamari Ramsey and N'Keal Arnold. Former Seminole Greedy Vance is going to lock down that nickel spot. And the 2 corners and the biggest surprise of fall camp are going to be Jalen Smith and John Humphrey. So let's work back to front here talking about the corners. You heard Bruce Feldman say it, Jalen Smith was USC's best corner in fall camp. Huge development, huge surprise, did not see that coming, didn't even think he was going to be playing corner. But yeah, with words like that and some things I've heard as well, Jalen Smith will be one of your starting corners. And then the battle for the other spot is fascinating. We have so many good choices at this corner spot. For me, it came down to 3 guys, John Humphrey, Jacoby Covington, or DeCarlos Nicholson. Cases could be made for them all to start here. Put any one of those guys in the other starting spot, I wouldn't argue with it. For the sake of this, and for week 1, I threw John Humphrey in there just because of the familiarity with Danton Lynn's system. But again, Jacoby Covington, hell of a player, he could start there. DeCarlos Nicholson, I am a huge fan of his, he could start there as well. All of these guys are going to play. You've heard the coaches talk about how much the secondary is going to rotate. So much like the wideouts, it's not like 2 guys are going to start and the other ones aren't going to see the field. There's going to be a lot of rotation here. So we will be seeing a lot of Covington and Nicholson as well. Talking about the safeties, Kamari Ramsey and N'Keal Arnold starting there, backed up by Bryson Shaw and Zion Branch. Again, talk about having a lot of good options here. You have guys like Prophet Brown, Anthony Beavers, young guys like Marquise Gallegos and Jarvis Boatwright. Both of the safety spots are incredibly deep, but in terms of the top 4, I do think that is clearly it. Another spot that was very easy to put down was nickel. When we got Greedy Vance in the portal from Florida State, I sat down, watched about 3 or 4 FSU games, especially that game against LSU, and I was absolutely blown away by Greedy. Love the way he plays the game, such a smart player, great football instincts, very smooth in coverage, doesn't take too many risks, which I like in a defensive back personally. Great tackler, not afraid at all to come up and run support, which at nickel you have to have. And then being backed up by a guy like Prophet Brown that came on so strong at the end of last year. Thought he was easily one of our 3 best players on defense at the tail end of the 2023 season. Again, not saying a lot, but still was very impressed with him. Really think our secondary as a whole is in a fantastic spot, deep at every single one of those positions, and really so versatile, so athletic. Very excited to see what they can put out on the field this year. And then looking at the 2 linebacker spots, again, Easton's going to be in the middle. He's going to be wearing that green dot for us. And Mason Cobb is going to be playing that will. He's going to be asked to come down in the run game and smack running backs in the backfield, playing off of those two gapping interior defensive linemen. Very excited to see how he produces this year. Big bounce back opportunity for Mason. Don't know if he's going to be a superstar for us, but I do think he's going to be much better than he was last year. Now again, we're just talking about the 2-4-5 base. There are going to be times when there are 3 linebackers out there on the field. The third guy off the bench is going to be Eric Gentry, going to be playing that Sam role for us when there's 3 linebackers on the field. But the backup Mike, and this is something very interesting, something that I heard in spring ball, is that Desmond Stevens, the true freshman, was getting some reps with the ones. Now, when you see Desmond Stevens, he does not look like a true freshman, but he in fact is. Now, if Desmond Stevens did come in, I don't think he would have the green dot. I'm fairly certain that would shift back to Kamari Ramsey. But still, I do think that the true freshman is in line to be playing that Mike spot if something, God forbid, happens to Ime. Now, moving up front, Bear Alexander is clearly your defensive tackle. And then Gavin Meyer, the transfer for Wyoming, again had an outstanding fall camp. The coaches are extremely excited with him. The players are as well if you heard them talking in their pressers. And then Nate Clifton, the Vanderbilt transfer, did announce that he shifted inside, put on some extra weight. He's up near around 300 pounds now. And then your backup nose is of course Kobe Pepe, star of the offseason if you're a USC fan. Big Kobe Pepe guy. But again, I would expect to see a ton of both Pepe and Clifton. Last year at UCLA, Lynn was rotating a lot with those interior guys. They're obviously very big. They get very tired very quickly. So yeah, nose, Meyer and Pepe, tackle Alexander and Clifton. And then your 2 stand-up pass rushers. Again, talk about having depth in these rooms. So many choices here. The 2 starters are going to be Anthony Lucas and Jamil Muhammad. I'm very confident about that. That is just pure power and athleticism at both of those spots. Very excited for them. And then you have 2 freak athletes backing those guys up in Braylon Shelby and Cam Fountain. This is the room that I am so excited to see how they produce on the football field in this new scheme. Jamil Muhammad put on a lot of good weight this offseason. He has taken all of the slander very personally, and he's on a revenge tour this year. Anthony Lucas is a guy that if he hits has all the talent in the world and could end up being a first-round pick. And if there's a player that the coaches brought up more on their own accord than Anthony Lucas, I don't know who it is. They are thrilled with the progress Anthony has shown this fall. Physically, he looks like a different person. He looks big. He looks ready to go. And then talking about Braylon Shelby is one of my favorite players on this entire team. When you talk about talent, no one on this defensive side of the ball has more talent than him. Freak athlete, great size, great speed, great bend, things you just can't coach. If USC's defense ends up being top 20, top 30, I feel like Braylon's going to have a really big role in that. And very quickly talking about the specialists, Georgia Southern transfer Michael Lance is going to be your kicker. Thanks, Clay Helton. Your punter is going to be Eddie Chaplichki, and the long snapper is going to be former Michigan State Spartan Hank Pepper. I know that I don't have to tell you who's going to be returning kicks and punts, so we'll just leave it there. If you guys disagree with me in any of these spots, please do let me know down below in the comments. Would love to hear what you guys are thinking with this. If you did happen to enjoy the video, please do leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Thank you guys so much for all the support. You're all awesome, and as always, take care and fight on.